on both sides of the aisle when it comes to this. You got to hear from Republicans and Democrats, which is where we bring in Joe Paris. Joe, you stuck GOP party. What's the reaction overall when it comes to this?
I think it's a big thank you for your input. We'll see what we want to do with it. And I asked House Speaker Mike Moyle, Republican from Star, about the comment from Governor Little that he made today, as well as he made last week, that cuts to Medicaid expansion are not part of the governor's proposal.
He had made some headlines on Friday for saying cuts to Medicaid expansion weren't on his agenda. In terms of the big cuts agenda, in terms of Medicaid, where do you see it?
Everybody forgets that the one that sets the agenda, the governor gives this day the state and his budget, and we listen. And then the ones that set it all is the legislative branch. So it'll be up to them to decide what happens. So we'll see. Well, there's discussion. We've got to find some solutions. We've got to figure out what to do on Medicaid, though, because Medicaid expansion is going to break the state. It's taking revenue away from schools and every other service we provide. We've got to figure out how to slow that growth.
So it's certainly not a new topic at the State House, cuts to Medicaid or potential cuts to Medicaid and expansion. And lawmakers took a few successful runs at that last session, specifically on ways to change the funding mechanism, as well as the gross amounts of money that goes to Medicaid and expansion. And supporters of those measures have said and continue to say that it is needed to protect the budget. Critics worry the cuts will end up costing Idaho more in the long run. Most importantly, the critics say that there will be a cost to the health of Idahoans.
When we ended the session last year, we left $430 million on the bottom line because we'd cut $450 million in taxes. We wanted to make sure we had a cushion. And we'd be fine today except for one thing, the Big Beautiful Bill. The Big Beautiful Bill is 39 components of tax relief. And so we've got to figure out how to balance that. So I think there's a way to do all of it, because you're going to get tax relief when we conform to the Big Beautiful Bill. But we also got to be a little careful that we have the revenue necessary to take care of schools and everything else. And that's one of my concerns with the Medicaid. We got a problem there.
So, talking to the House Speaker about what you just heard about there, the intrigue of what the governor had basically promised the president, the state of Idaho was going to conform with the IRS tax code on the state level, which means there will be more tax relief for Idahoans, but that also means there will be less revenue coming into the state of Idaho. So some believe that an easy place to cut would be the Medicaid budget, one of the largest budget items here in the state of Idaho. So there's a lot of intrigue coming into the session, and again, Idaho has confirmed that it sounds like the tax code, for the most part, they're going to go along with. More tax breaks, though, coming soon. I guess you could say it will be in the next tax year,
right.
But a lot to discuss. There will probably be some very specific provisions of the Big Beautiful Bill tax code that Idaho doesn't go along with, which is not abnormal from the usual years.
Yeah, okay, Joe, we're going to come back to you. We're getting some viewer comments coming in about this, but let's get out to Aspen Shumpert. She has been covering kind of the Democratic side of thing. Aspen, what is top of mind for Democrats right now?
Yeah, hi, Hunter. It's fair to say budget is top of mind for Democratic leaders right now. They're calling the multi-million-dollar deficit a self-inflicted crisis, and they're hoping to see some solutions this legislative session to make that right. Specifically today, after hearing Governor Brad Little's State of the State address, they felt he really glossed over the deficits that's happening right now and feel like Idahoans deserve to know what's going to be coming next with that. Democrats specifically called out the GOP party, saying they need to make it right and own some of their policy mistakes from last year that is putting the budget where it's at right now. The Democrats are proposing a three-part solution, really, which includes taking 1/3 of the state's $1.4 billion rainy day fund. They could do that. They could eliminate the parental choice tax credit, which is $50 million. And then additionally, they could look at some of those tax bills from the previous legislative session and maybe put some language in place to make sure that those only take effect when the state can afford it.
That pretty much solves our budget problem right away. So we have some really obvious solutions staring us in the face. We just have some leaders who refuse to look at those solutions. But, maybe if the public engages more on this, they can say, well, wait, why are we, defunding nursing homes? Why are we cutting nursing care for people with disabilities? Why are we doing all this when we have these really obvious things we could do to restore revenue to the system so we could make ends meet?
Now, before the legislative session kicked off today, Idaho's DOGE committee said they will be recommending repealing Medicaid expansion, which, reminder, passed and was supported by 61% of voters back in 2018. Now, Democrats say they will be fighting to keep Medicaid expansion in place, and if it was to be repealed, it would be a staggering mistake that will affect 90,000 Idahoans having access to affordable health care. Senate Minority Leader Melissa Wintrow says Medicaid expansion has only become more favorable since 2018. And we need to protect it.
Biggest priority is affordability for families, and healthcare is at the top of that, because if you're not healthy, you can't work and you can't provide for your family. Affordable child care is essential to make sure that families can work.
Now, beyond budget problems, as well as making sure Medicaid expansion stays in place, Democrats say they also plan to have some priorities that line out fully funding public schools as well as preserving Idaho's public lands. But they hope to not be on just the defense this year. They also want to introduce some bills addressing affordable housing, affordable child care. So I know that's also on their horizon, Hunter.
Yeah, always a reminder that this is the time of year where things are just proposed. It's up to the lawmakers to make things happen. So we'll see how that plays out in session. Aspen, thank you.